Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Steve Laughlin. I'm going to be moderating this session. And we have Richard and Flynn who are online and going to be kicking off their session on lighting techniques here shortly. We'll just give everyone just a moment to get into the room. All righty, we'll go ahead and kick it off. We've got a 1-hour session here that's going to be hosted by Richard and Flynn from Lego Masters that everyone's very familiar with here in North America. And guys, I'm going to hand it over to you right now.
Oh, maybe we need to, we're going to start our video.
Hi, everyone. I'm Richard. I am Flynn.
We're Tricky Bricks, yes. And you may have seen us on season 1 of Lego Masters.
that little show.
Yep. And we're going to talk about lighting your MOC like from the inside as opposed to lighting your MOC from the outside to take pictures of it. And we'll do a little slideshow. We'll have some hands-on, and I'll go through more than assembling lighting inside a model. It's going to be like showing you some of the tools that are available and ways that you can think about them. So awesome. Should we just start with a slideshow?
I think we should start with a slideshow.
All right.
All right, slideshow.
So we'll share our screen here. We've been building since about 2016, and let me see when we bring up the first slide here. I'm going to open these things too.
There we go.
So if you can all see this slide, this is my piece 2001. It's from the end of the movie where astronaut Dave is taking the memory chips out of Hal. And I didn't have any Lego lights at all. No little LEDs, no light bricks or anything. So I used a clip lamp off to the side of this and shined a bright light through, and then put my iPhone behind that little dot in the back there to be Hal's eye. So you don't need specialized Lego tools to do it. And you can see it was these forced perspective walls. And if that wasn't black on the sides, there'd be 2 big bright lights on either side. And it makes this soft glow on his sad little face. So this is our, well, why don't you briefly tell about this first piece? This is our first big one, right?
Yeah, this is the first piece we ever showed publicly. This was California Dreamin'. This is a small part of it. But basically, we imagined the state of California as a theme park ride, and that you would go through all the different parts of California. And this really started where we started lighting stuff a lot. Richard is a lighting designer by trade, so he was able to include all different kinds of lighting, interior and exterior lighting in this. Now, one thing that we should say right off the bat about lighting is it's great for home displays. It's great for photographs. However, in a con situation,
like you're at a big convention hall with bright lights overhead.
Yeah, it can be very difficult. And a lot of times for that, you end up having to sort of create your own shade. So it's just something to think about. And we did learn that lesson with this in particular.
Yeah, in this one, and we'll show close-ups actually in here. On the Wizard of Oz, I've got a truss overhead above the city of Oz there.
Right here.
And there's 6 LEDs in 3 little fixtures aimed down at the city of Oz and backlighting those figures. And then if you go in the front, there's some trusses just like on a movie set, and those have little 2 fixture LEDs, and that's lighting up the minifigures themselves. So if you didn't have this in this con setting, like you can see the lion's tail shadow down there, they would have been much darker. So it helps you. I wonder, like, why light a MOC, right? You want to light a MOC so people or cameras can see, to direct focus, and then also to create mood. And in this case, it really says, look right here at the city of Oz.
Yeah, because even in the bright lights, you could tell that the Oz characters were lit much brighter than everything around it, and it really made a huge difference. And it really gave it that atmosphere of being on a movie set.
And people's eyes in person are more sensitive to than cameras. Here, I've got lights in little reflector housings, little gray reflector housings in the front from both sides. And if you see, you can see the starlit shadow shadow on the back wall. So she's much brighter than she would have been otherwise.
And you can also see where the wires here.
Yeah,
got,
and
right?
I'll talk in a little bit about how to hide wires, and that's really a thing. You want to hide your wires so it doesn't look like a big non-Lego electrical display, but you want to be able to get to them. So here, this was a standalone piece we did. We did this saloon, and it has lights behind the windows with trans orange bricks over them to make that warm glow. And then you can also see in the open door there lights sticking out. And that had a battery pack right in that piece, so you could pick it up and set it down, and there was no hiding of wires. And then here we had in our beach scene, the roller coaster comes around, the cars race around, and they see a beach. And we wanted a diner to look like it had fluorescent lights inside, like a bright 50s diner. So this has 3 cool white, and we'll talk about color in a second here, cool white LEDs to light that nice and bright. And it would have been black otherwise.
Oops, sorry.
That's okay. And actually, why don't we see, I wonder if I can show you here. We talk about cool white versus warm white LEDs.
Oh, you want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see if I can show you this here. Let's go to us so we can see us. So will you hold this up, Flynn? Oh, well, you can kind of see here. Like, let's see. This one is very warm, and this one is very cool. And can you go to the down camera?
Sure. Give me just a second.
Okay, we don't want to bounce around too much, but I think you'll be able to see this in our down camera here. Is it? No, it's going to be way too bright. No, the auto iris for, oh, is it going to do it?
A little bit.
Well, there. Okay, look, you can see on this
go.
darker surface here, that's warm white, a WW LED, warm white. And this is cool white. This is like the light from outside. And I use these cool white ones here. You're looking at it on a brown surface in that diner. And these are just little 3mm LEDs that I'm blinding you with there. And it's battery powered here with this battery pack. 3 things that we talk about in lighting design, and it works for your mock as well, is power. You've got a battery pack here that's going to power it all, or some you plug into the wall. Positions, in this case in the diner, we had some light fixtures in the ceiling. That's where we put the lights. And then control, and in this case you control it by turning on and off this switch. And we return to that again and again in lighting. Let's go back to the slideshow.
Okay, slideshow it is.
I'll just turn this off here. We on the slideshow?
Yes.
Let's look at the next slide. So this is in our Disneyland section of California Dreamin'. We had Beauty and the Beast. And what happened with Beauty and the Beast? The cars?
They were on a motor, and then a sensor would sense the roller coaster or the cars coming by, and then it would cause a motor to start with Belle and the Beast, and they would spin around on this sort of float.
And for that piece, I used some lights made by a company called Brick Stuff. And it had a little controller. Should I show them now, or should we continue on with slides?
Let's see. Let's talk. We can stop for this right now. Yeah.
Okay. So these lights, I wanted to have a flicker effect, like a flicker candle. And so I used these lights from Brick Stuff, and I got their little kit here that has a power supply. Here's a little battery pack. And it has this controller here. And can you go to close-up cam, Flynn?
Yes.
Let's see. If not, just let me know.
No, you can keep pointing out.
So it has this little controller here, and it has an on-off switch. Oh, I got to turn on the batteries here. Right, on-off switch on the battery pack. There's another on-off switch on the controller here. And then it has a variety of effects. I think maybe 18 effects. And there's a little knob here that makes it go absurdly fast, which you might want if you want like flickering sparks, in a sci-fi scene, or you can slow it down. Now, a thing to know about this set is right here, you can see 2 little plugs, 1, 2, those are the outputs. So there's 6 lights on this, and 3 of them are on one output and 3 are on another. So every effect this can do is just going to be this back and forth between one effect and another. And I'll show you a few more of them. Right, and if you put these around your model, you can have different lights blinking on and off, but it's really, you see just 2 channels. Right, and then there's some like aircraft landing lights and all like that. So here you see I've taken these, like there, just blinding you is a really bright LED there that fits, the plug fits right through the hole in a cone or a branch. That little, I think it's 3 millimeter hole, the plug for this light fits through, and then you can put a piece, I like translucent pieces, right over the top, you know, and then it'll light up the whole thing like that.
Yeah, it's really effective for lighting up the whole
right?
thing.
And though, while these are all warm white LEDs, they're just white, white, white. I've got red cones over here. Is this one? Oh, I'll show you. I'll turn that one on in a minute. But I've got pink and green and orange translucent pieces. So get out all your translucent pieces and you can change your white LEDs to whatever color you want.
So speaking of that, we should look at the, we should go back to the slideshow.
Yep. Yeah, so it's very, very, very small, the plugs on this. Like they fit inside that 3 millimeter hole. So you want some patience and you want maybe a pair of tweezers, and I'll show you that in a minute, but it's very small.
So you used, now here, you made your own light fixture and you used a transparent blue piece to shoot a blue light onto this server here.
I
right?
did do that, yes. Where's my, here's, for this one, for most of the lights in California Dreamin', we use lights from a company called Life Lights. And while the brick stuff ones are super cool and tiny, that also means you have to work. What's that?
There you go. I had to get you to the front. There
Oh,
you go.
sorry there. While the brick stuff ones are cool and tiny, it also means that you're going to need tools like, you know, unless you have very sharp nails, I like needle nose pliers, you know, so you don't pull on the delicate wires. And then I also used, these are just fingernail, you know, kind of tweezers there. You put a little pressure on them and plug them in and out. The thing to know, and the reason why Lego doesn't do so far these little tiny, tiny wires is they want things that someone who is, you know, 7 years old can do and not break. Like this light brick. Let's go to the down cam.
All right.
I'm going to jump around a little bit, but we're going to take it from like the simplest lights up to more complex what you can do. This is a 2x3 Lego light brick. It has an axle hole in here, so you can stick an axle there, maybe put a ball on the end of it, and when your car comes by and hits it, the light goes on and off. I would say don't think of this as something that you're going to run for 4 hours at a con, because the battery will die. It's better as a momentary thing,
Exactly.
right? We used them on Lego Masters and the batteries lasted very short amount of time. So if you want longer, and remember we talked about power, positions, and control, right? Position, you just put that brick anywhere you want. Here is a power functions light, right? Very simple to use. It's got a plug that fits on the battery pack, an on-off switch, and these 2 LEDs, and they fit perfectly in a Technic brick with 2 holes or 2 separate ones, right? And they'll fit in there and they'll stay. And now you've got a position. You've got control with your on-off switch and a position. And then I like to use these cones to control the light, right?
So it's not so big of a wash.
Right,
It's a little more
very
focused.
spotty. The downside that I see to the power functions lights is they can be pretty pricey if you're going to get a bunch of them.
Yeah, if you
right?
need a lot,
And then you need battery packs all over or extension cables for this.
which can get very pricey as well.
Right. Now, power positions and control, this is better control right here. This is Lego Powered Up.
It's the newest.
Right?
Yeah.
And you see the light is almost identical to the one with the power functions. The difference is with this one, where's my remote? You can turn on the remote. They're connected. Let's see, I'm sorry, that's pretty bright for you, but we have matching lights here saying that the remote and the power supply are connected. And now I can just use this button to dim it up and down on about 10 levels. But if that's not enough control for you, like you wanted, the Disney train uses this, right? You can use the Powered Up app, and you can program dimming functions to bring things up and down and play sounds at the same time. So I think these are super cool. Again, you can only put 2 of them in a hub, so you're limited to the numbers of them that you can use.
Well, this even gets more expensive if you wanted lots of lights. Because of course you'd need multiple hubs. Which
Correct.
It can be a little pricey.
So looking at the Surfer, if we go back to the slideshow, I went with these little 3mm LEDs and I made my own light fixtures there, and I hid it up under there. So most people, since I chose a color of the underside of the wave for the light fixture, wouldn't even see that there. You know, I shot it with the camera. What's our next one? You can also, for lots of different translucent bricks, especially the greens and the orange ones, you can use black light. Can we go back down? And this is, what is this, Flynn, we're seeing here?
So this is a window treatment from our really big piece, mechanical piece called Treasure of the Snake Queen, which we'll actually look at a little bit of video later. But we initially wanted to light parts of it with black LED, like black light LEDs, which were kind of hard to find, but fortunately, Life Lights, we were able to get in contact with Rob Hendricks, who I actually believe is here.
Yeah, he might be with us in the
And
in the
he
chat.
actually created some special blacklight LEDs just for us, and we loved them, and they worked out really nicely. And it's kind of amazing how bright the black lights can really glow some of these parts.
Well, one thing I love about using black light with Lego is I didn't have to actually have a light inside that window, right? You can pull the light back and it just glows like magic just from the inside. So can you go to the down camera again pretty easily? Oh, you
Sure,
can
we should show this.
The next. This is the slime cave from Treasure of the Snake Queen. And you can see there's lots of translucent yellow and green pieces and orange on the front. What does it look like under black light?
And so this is what it looks like under black light.
And we were able to, we used an Arduino microcontroller, so that takes it to, another level of complexity. Thanks Zonker Harris for his help there, right? But we had lights in the front hidden behind the rocks. Will you point to that angle?
Up here.
Yeah, and also down in the front here.
Yeah, and down here.
Yeah, there's hanging out there. And then also on the sides, I have side light. And remember we said you have to create your own shade? This is the lesson we learned from California Dreamin'. If you take nothing else away from this, if you want to light in a bright situation, like at a convention or, you're doing bright photography lighting, make your own shade.
Right,
a little shadow box. I have a black curtain there of angled bricks, and behind that is how I'm lighting that back wall. There's fixtures all through there. And then here's a dots bracelet. Of course, I had to do this, like lighting designer for 30 years, right? A dots bracelet with a blacklight flashlight. So let's go to the down cam, and I'll show you this a little bit in person. So let me see here. Oh, well, I've got it all black. There we go. We can get some shine on it here. What I've done is create there. I've created a 1x3 Technic brick with holes with cones in the front of it. And then I've got these blacklight, and he color codes, Rob color codes all of his. These are purple for blacklight LEDs. So now I'm going to plug this into, do I have a battery pack?
I sure hope so.
Let's see here. Yes. I'm going to plug a battery pack into this guy here. And look, I keep my thumbnail about like 4 millimeters long and a tiny bit on my nails because it's so much more efficient than using tweezers. And here's the thing, right? Look how small that is, right? So I'm just going to take my nails and try and not pull this wire. Please don't ever yank on the wire because you'll have to buy a new light. You pull that out. Here's a secret. This is next level stuff. If you want to use something like this, there's 2 little teeth on either side of the plug, and there's a tutorial on the Lifelight's website. You got to cut those off, and then you can plug them in and out again and again. So here's an extension cord going into a little 8-way splitter, and I'll show you that in bright light in a minute. I'm going to plug it in, turn it on, and you can see, let me turn off that other light. Oh yeah, let's turn this off. And this is just with battery power, right? Just with battery power, it makes that glow bright green and orange. And then there's these other ones. This is the Lifelight's E-Light series here. And then these other ones are more of a wash fixture, which instead of, think about it like the sun on a cloudy day makes a big soft wash of light, right? And so you can use these to light up, well, let me plug this into the wall. LEDs use only a little bit of power, but if you power them with batteries, then partway through your show, the batteries might be half as bright and your LEDs are going to be way, way dimmer. So I like to plug them in. And where's this one right here? And this. So let's get a little more light from overhead, could we? Sure. So this is a little light fixture with 3 LEDs in it. You can make them with 1 or 2. And then these are the different parts that I used. This right here is an 8-way splitter. Power goes in here, you just plug it in, and then you can have 8 outputs. Or if you don't want to use a battery pack like this, it's got this little plug on it, you could use this and plug it into the wall. And don't be scared by the computer chip. It's just USB power goes in here, and then you can plug 2 things out over here. And he has a couple of other sizes, right? Like if you want to do those tiny ones, like the brick stuff ones, you can go with that output. And then this, since this stuff is so small, he doesn't like to make, and I've seen this from multiple companies, a little Y adapter with cable because it's fragile. So they put it on this little card, and it's got holes, so you can just mount it in studs. You can see there, look, they put it between 2 plates. Yep. So you can just mount it all through your set. So where's my USB power here? I'm going to plug that in. And then there's a little switch. And this right here, see that moving?
Flicker bulb.
So that's one of my favorites there. And we use that all through Snake Queen. This has more than 1 LED inside it, and it's got the ability to flicker all on its own. So you can create a torch or a flame effect with just plugging it in, right? And remember, this could be the battery pack. Yeah, right? So this here is just 1 wire. Here, I'll pull this off here. It's 1 wire going into this little splitter going into the power, right? So then, look at these guys here. Do we want to go to the front cam?
Sure.
Okay. How are we doing on time here? Great. So remember I said power, positions, and control. So positions, you can take truss like this and put it on your set and hide it in the side so you don't see it. Like think about your sight lines. Where's your audience going to see your piece from? And you can hide this truss. Maybe if you want to mount lights on the bottom, like in front of a piece, you could use this. And then, yeah, we can go back to the slides in a minute. So I made this little on a rotator, and it's got a hinge on it, right? Just like a real light fixture, but it's those same little 3mm life lights just in the back there.
Now, could we show people how you constructed that little light fixture?
Yeah, let me show just one other one. This right here, I'll just pull this off. This is just a Technic plate. It's a 2x8 Technic plate with holes in it. And I've run the wires through the holes. Oops. Let's see here. So the wires are through the holes. This is a 2x2 round. It's hard to see against my shirt, but it's a translucent 2x2 round. And I just push it up in there, and then in that cone, and when I turn it on, the light turns that color. And
Which is what we did in the saloon. That's how we lit the
yeah,
saloon.
we did that in the saloon, and then we used clear ones in the diner, right?
Yep.
So you need to create a little fixture so you're not like, okay, I work as a theatrical lighting designer, and I use powerful tape all the time to stick stuff everywhere. I do not like to use tape on these little fine things, because when you go to pull it off, you know, you use your piece over again, you end up pulling the wires out. So let's go back to the slideshow, and I think, were we ahead of this? Were we before this one?
Do what now?
Were we before this in the sequence of slides, Flynn?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to turn this little guy
Are you
off.
sure? Maybe just like we don't.
There.
Good
Okay.
there?
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta share the screen again.
So I just showed you that little flicker bulb, the little flicker torch bulb. We had 9 towers in the front of Treasure of the Snake Queen, and each one of them had 2 windows. So in this case, I actually did tape them. I used electrical tape, and I taped a bulb behind each one of those windows. And if you go up there, you can see. So one of the things that we found out from California Dreamin' was if you can actually see the source, if you can see the LED itself and you're seeing it right through the window here, then even in a bright situation, it's shaded and it's going to be very bright. People could see it from 15 feet away, right?
Right. Even in the bright convention lights, because again, we made our own shade, and it was I gotta say, it really brought a lot of life to the piece.
That little bit of animation, right?
Yeah, just standing back at a distance and walking by, and it would catch people's eye. There would just be this little bit of like flickering, and it really gives the illusion that, you know, like it's a lived-in space.
Well, it draws focus. Again, that's the reason why light your pieces, is so you can see them and to tell people where to look, and then to create mood. And I think these also created mood.
Yeah.
So let's go on to the next one. Now you can also just go really nuts with these lights. And I had, in Treasure of the Snake Queen, we had 63 LEDs.
That's a lot.
So, oh, I see, you've gone to this one.
Yeah.
This is an example of where the blue trans pieces were stealing a lot of light. And one LED on its own wasn't enough, so I just added more. I have 4 of them on a same kind of fixture like you saw in this truss. It was on a little hinge and rotator, and then I think the next slide shows what. Oh, and you can even look at where that splitter is hidden up there.
Yep, you can see it there.
Will you
right
put
here.
the cursor? That's that little 8-way splitter hidden up underneath the cliff, routing the
There it is.
wires. Right.
And the thing is, if you look at this back thing, all of these little pieces here were basically hung there because we wanted to look like a jagged outcropping, but also it served to hide the source of the light fixture.
Right, exactly. And you know, if you hide it mostly, people suspend their disbelief.
Yeah.
There, and to go forward, I think we might see that waterfall, and that's the effect right there. That's the effect of having those 4 bulbs up underneath the cliff. Is I thought, and just take your lights. If you're going to light your model, plug it in, turn it on, and move it around and see where it looks the coolest. An old lighting design trick that we found is that you know, good people are lit from heaven, and then the bad monsters are like hit from lava or fire underneath, right? So if you put it underneath, you get that sort of monster movie look, or in this case, we made it blue and sort of like moonlight was the idea.
Right.
You think about, as a lighting designer, and you're doing lighting design for your models, how does light work in the real world? The sun's up in the sky, and it makes clean shadows. That's very cheerful. And then you cool it off, it's the moon or, you know, lava coming up from underneath. So if it works that way in the real world, do that in your model and people will believe the effect. Here's an effect of where we had these skulls go on. These figures are all on a conveyor belt, you'll see in a little bit, and these skull lights came on individually. And I used, for these, I used white LEDs, and the skulls have red 1x1 round translucent plates in them. And it gives you this really vibrant red. But you can also do individual ones. So this one is a little harder to see, but there's actually 6 of those little brick stuff LEDs, the tiny, tiny ones, where, remember I showed you the branch and the plug fits right through that hole. So harder to see what's going on here, but you've got a pink crystal going right over a stud that has that little LED right in it. And if you have that effect, and we had them coming on and going,
Yeah, they were
off
like
slowly,
pulsing.
so
It was really cool effect.
magical. And the eye has more subtle contrastability than the camera that took this photo. So what's next?
This.
Oh, and in this one here, this is a very brightly lit photo, right? We just blasted light in the front, and you can barely see a little in the bottom in the entryway. We've got a light over the entryway, and point to that with the cursor, which brings some attention. In this case, we had 2 lights and one of them wasn't working. It's fussy stuff. They're very, very good products. I think all of the ones we've looked at today are good, reliable products, but it's tiny wires, so sometimes things go off. And then this is an effect that you couldn't even see in bright light. This is a ghost that we had where, Flynn?
In the upper tower. So if you look right here, I don't know if you can see her in this photo. Maybe you can. I'll pull up. Yeah, you can kind of see her in there.
She's in there with her candle, but you'd never see it in a bright situation. But for a photo, we have a blue light, a cool white LED, like I showed you, cool white and warm white, over her head. Or you could use one and put a blue trans, piece on it. And then she has a white cylinder for the candle with an orange trans dot to be this warm white candle in front of her. And I think that might have been a flickering one as well.
It was. And it was a really great effect too.
And then here in the entryway behind the spooky family here, you see we have both of those light fixtures on, and they look just like that 2x8 that I showed you. That's the same fixture. It's a 2x8 Technic brick with hole, with 2x2 round cylinders with translucent orange cones underneath those. And then we're making a new piece. Sorry for the play symbol there, but inside that house we had flicker candles.
Well, here, why don't we talk about? Why don't you show people now how you make these?
Yeah, I'll show you how to make the light fixtures that I made. And we've settled on life lights as our sort of the one we use most of the time. I think cost effective versus easy to use. We've sort of settled there. And can I see the down? But there's lots of great products. We don't have business arrangements with anyone. For these, this simple basic set here is that Too Bright, the battery pack, the little splitter card that I showed you, and then these 2 little lights here. So remember I showed you, you can use blue translucent or whatever translucent pieces. You can also get LEDs that are automatically in that color. This produces only blue light, only green light. And those can be very bright in those colors. So here's a light fixture that I made, and maybe we need to put on the studio lights and get a little brighter.
Okay.
Oops, look.
Yeah, that's off.
I'll turn on the other one too. I use these same fixtures over and over and over again. Let me see, I'll put this white bit out here. So there's very few pieces. I'll take it all apart. So the first thing you need is a Technic brick with hole, right? And that hole not only could take the powered up lights, but it can also fit one of these little LEDs. Fits right through the hole, no problem at all. The plug in these larger ones won't fit. Oh, yeah, it won't fit all the way through the hole. So put your light in. Then I use a cone, and it can be translucent, or in this case, I want to block a lot of light out, so it only shoots out front. So I put this black cone there, and you can always put a translucent dot on that. Like,
well, and you do also too. When you're doing this, you're always kind of striking a balance between like how much light you're cutting off by using a cone and a colored, like a colored trans piece to change the color, and how much light is actually coming out, and how many lights you'll have to use to get your desired effect.
That's exactly right. And for issues of brightness, I highly recommend, and so you don't throw away a lot of batteries, if you can, get the way to plug it into the wall. Right.
They're just so much brighter.
This is USB powered, and the lights are more than twice as bright, I find, and they hold that brightness. So we've got our 1x2. It could be a 1x1, or in this case, a 1x4 Technic brick gives you 3 lights. Here's the tricky part. It's not tricky to do, but it was tricky to come up with. So your light's in here, and it's just poking there, poking into there. You're going to put it on a 2x2 plate, right? Give you some shine there. I'm sorry, it's all black. We'll get a light colored plate. And then this is a 1x2 cheese wedge. Here, look, we'll put it on a lighter colored plate. 2x2 plate. Oops. Cheese wedge is going to hold your light in because it just wants to fall out. So gently put that there, and it pinches it. Can you see, like, it's going to pinch it a little bit, but not so hard that it breaks the wires.
Well, and it's because, and you probably can't see it on camera, but the cheese wedge doesn't completely cover the technical.
Yeah, it covers about halfway, just enough to do this. And something that I've found is if you want to go next level with it, you can get this heat shrink tubing if you want to go next level, and cover over, like if you really, really want to hide everything, you can cover over this colored bit here, but then you better remember what it is, because that's what indicates the color of your LED.
All right, so now you could just stick this down onto a plate or a brick and point it at something.
I could just stick it there, and anything that's right in front of it will be lit. But what I would prefer to do, like if I had a minifigure,
or a Fabuland figure.
If I had a Fabuland figure here that I wanted to light, it's just going to light his feet, right? So I want to put, I love these little rocker hinges, these guys. They're small, they're tiny, they're so perfect for this. And you could either mount it this way, so, oops, that it tilts, let me see. This would tilt down, right? If it's up on a cliff, it would tilt down at the lake below. Or you can turn it the other way. Let me see, I'm getting
Right,
lost.
so now you can move it up and down, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, here, I'll put it back on the plate there. And now you can see I'm aimed right up at her face.
And you can,
right?
You can adjust that.
Yeah, and then why don't we plug this in? Oops, let's see here. I'm using my fingers here, and then I use my nail to just push it in, right? Just use your nail so you're never pushing on the wires. And look, this is blue light.
And now you can aim it.
Yeah, I can aim it. And I'm so sorry for the weakness of our webcam's contrast ability here, but I'm aiming it up at her face and then down at her feet. And then, but maybe she's over here, you know, and you only can hide your piece over here because that's where your wall is you want to hide it behind. So the last piece of the fixture is a rotator. And you can do all of this. We hid some in the forest for Snake Queen. Sorry to blind you there. You can build them in the color of your piece. So if you're building a forest, you know, rotate, tilt up and down, use all green or use gray for rocks, right? And then there's barely anything. Oh, here's a little sideline thing. See this animated torchlight here? If I was on batteries and I wasn't plugged into the wall and I plugged this in, it would make all of the other lights that are downstream flicker, which can be cool, but just so you know that. So that's a light fixture, right? And the nice thing is it is so flexible. You can put the rotator on the top and then hang this from your ceiling and still rotate it.
That's so cool.
You can do it sideways. I've used the same fixture over and over and over. And then
that's your creation too.
That's my creation. I mean, I don't know, maybe there's other people coming up with parallel creations. But then this cone here can also have translucent pieces on the front of it, right? It can have square, round,
so you have all kinds of
colored
options.
And then any color that you have a translucent piece for, right there. And while this square one doesn't do it as much, the round ones actually act a little bit like a lens, right? And it picks it up. It makes it shoot further. It's spottier like a flashlight. And then I guess the last thing I would have, did you get a good view of this little splitter box there? I think I showed that one, right? All you're doing, will you go back? Oh, we've got the down cam, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you're thinking, gosh, I can't possibly do all the circuiting necessary to do this because it's super scary. Really, all we're doing is, here's a battery or plug into the wall. And then you plug in a little extension cord like this one, right? Over here. And that's got a female receiver on it. And then you've got a light, just like these lights here. And the light has a little male plug. And you're plugged in, right? If you want to do more, then you plug into one of these, where are they? These little threefer things that you've hidden in there, right? See how it's just three? Power comes in here, and you've got two outs, 1, 2. So you're just creating a Y, right?
And from what I understand, what I saw from is there's actually Y cables now are available.
Oh, okay. That's new to me.
Yeah.
So, and then if you want 8 rather than just 3, then use one of these. And I use these a lot. And if I remember correctly, I'm sorry I couldn't find it in all of our bricks, but they also make one of these, which is smart. I think it's called a smart MCU, like control unit. And where the other one I showed you had 2 outs and you could do blinky back and forth. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I think the smart MCU does 8. So that means you can do fireworks effects like we did behind Disneyland. You can use anything that's, it's instead of like this, it's like this. And it gets a lot more exciting. So take that away too. Power, a splitter like 3 or 8, and then your lights. And if this is too short, what I would say is start off simple and you go, oh, I need to go 36 inches, then buy your 36-inch extension cord. But don't just do what I did and buy a ton of stuff and then be like, oh, that's not exactly right. I would rather make more orders and get just what I want.
Yeah.
So where are we at next? Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh. And we haven't taken any questions.
Well, there's a few questions here in the chat. So we got, this was back from the very beginning, is how strongly do you feel about hiding wires? And actually this kind of leads into something you were going to talk about anyway.
I feel that it depends on the piece. If I'm making a sci-fi hangar, then I may not care if there's a lot of wires all over the place. You know, it may be part of the aesthetic, but mostly I'm doing a Lego aesthetic and I do want to hide the wires. And to that end, I've got a couple of ways to show you to hide the wires. First of all, if you're going to put a bunch of lights and power supplies and batteries and all of that in your piece, make sure that you don't block them in to where you can never get them out. You know, this is underneath 36 courses of bricks and I need to change the battery, I'll be sad. But if I make an access port and a way to just slide my battery pack in and out, then, and there's my lights, then I'm happy.
And I think that's also really important for powered up, because that hub,
yes.
You know,
Absolutely. We're big fans of access doors and all of that.
Yeah.
So here I've hidden wires completely, right? And this is a little bit intensive with 2x3 plates, but imagine this is all rock work around here, and you could,
or floor or whatever.
Or floor, you could completely bury it in your mock. But like in California Dreamin' with the starlit scene, the Hollywood scene, I ran the wires on the sides of that module, so that easily I could get to the wires in case there was a problem. Because you don't want to get to your show or ready for your photo shoot and then one of your lights isn't working because you pulled a wire out. So one way is to do like I did here and just lay down plates with a 1 stud channel in between them, and then put these 1x3s across, and you've covered them, right? You'll notice that I've got 1x1 round tiles here, and this is super plates, excuse me, 1x1 round
Because
plates.
actually the tiles won't work
Tiles
for this
won't work.
particular thing.
Check this out. If you look right on, oops, sorry there. If you look right on the edge, you can see underneath the ridge of the plate, there's a little gap. A little gap underneath that edge, and you can use that gap to hold your wires in a way that will not pinch the wires. With the nano, the Pico, I think it is, the tiny LEDs I showed you first, you can actually put a stud over the top. But I wouldn't recommend doing it 15 times because you're going to weaken the wire. Do it like once or twice. In this case, you're not stressing the wires. This dot just holds it, and you can remove it very easily, no problem at all, right? Another thing you can do with this is you can take, here we go. Once you've controlled it with the dots, and you don't need to run the dots all the way around, I just do it everywhere I turn a corner, right?
Sorry, we call these dots. We have most people. Like most people, we have our sort of own Lego language that we invented before we knew what the real words were. We still call them that, so not to be confused with dots bracelets.
Oh, Rob Hendricks says he uses 1x1s as well. That's a great
way to do it.
What I do is I jiggle it back and forth a little bit because you don't want to pinch it. If you know that it's loose, it'll find its way, and then you can just cover over those plates, and there it's gone. Where is it, right?
And also too, I think this is important. You may see this number 27 hanging out here.
Yeah.
But if you are working with a lot of wires or
like
lights,
63,
that all go to different places, it's probably a really good idea to think about numbering the wires, just so that when you get down to where you're like, oh, that one light isn't working, which one is it? Yeah. Then you can go, you can refer to your list. Oh, okay, the forest is being lit by numbers 26, 27, and 28, and then at least you have your you've already started with that.
Well, and what I found too, you'll see I have multiple sheets that are missing the same numbers, is label both sides.
Yeah.
And then you can label the splitter as well. So that varies all these wires. We talked about how to hide them, how to not break them. Oh, let me show you a few tools that you want, right? You really don't need any tools at all. I decided early on that while soldering is fun, I didn't want to solder for Lego. I will let other people do the soldering. And there's very, very clever people with resistors and all that. I like to have a headlamp. Yeah, for me, I have, older eyes, so I wear my bifocals and look up close, and magnifying glass works too. Headlamp is good. I get so tired of looking for twist ties and not having them. I just bought a little spool of, I bought a little spool of wire, like this is bell wire. Well, and I make my own ties.
Right, and that's helpful because, of course, like everybody knows, out of the back of your TV, there can always be 5,000 wires, and they're constantly getting tangled, and then this way you can kind of, keep them all together.
So there's an example. I just use a little thing there, and I can reuse it a zillion times without stressing the wires at all. Don't get knots in your wires. And then the last things, again, are tweezers, and here, I'll show, I'll be bold about this. I'm a little afraid because who wants to break a wire, right? But it's not that scary. I just pinch. Oops. See, I knew if I tried to do this live on the web, there, and it's out. There's a little ledge there that you can get your nail, or the tweezers up under. But just be patient. Don't yank on anything. And I think it's not hard to get going with lighting your Legos. Remember, we talked about the light brick. That's the easiest way. We've got power functions, powered up, and then there's multiple manufacturers, and some of them, depending on your budget, will cost more than others. So find something that suits you. We've done really well with these.
Right, so there was a question about, interestingly, and I think maybe they saw the slide, is about how do you get power through a rotating MOC? And
Oh my
that
goodness.
that is a fraught question, my friend. But
Yeah,
we'll at least show you a little bit of what this ended up actually becoming a problem, although it wasn't the rotating part that was the problem.
So, carefully is the answer. If you are not able to control your MOC in a way that stops it from spinning more than one complete turn, then you might want to learn about things like commutators or wireless power, or you could put a tiny battery pack in the part that rotates and not share wires. Or you can try and light all the windows, I think was it 17 windows of Treasure of the Snake Queen, and put a wash fixture and a spot fixture. So those
there are 14 separate light fixtures here, each with multiple wires.
It's more than that. There's 7 modulite. I am kind of proud of this one, even though eventually we had to pull these out because they unbalanced our turntable. I was heartbroken. So the modulites are the rectangular ones, and those are like a wash fixture. Those would light the bottom parts of the windows. And then when you point to the spot fixtures that look just like that one we just built.
That's probably the easiest one to
There's
see.
a spot fixture, and it has a Y adapter on top of it. And you can see, there's our rotators and sensors. Each one of those is 3 LEDs. The one in the middle here you can point to, right there, mounted with studs, and then the 2 right there. And you see all the wires are managed with little twist ties. And then look what happens when you pull your turntable off and you have 28 or 21 different lights. You have a huge hod of cable. And a couple of times we had programming issues where the turntable rotated multiple times, and that's how it gets twisted up like that.
Yeah.
So be careful. Do your rotation back and forth, not round and round.
Yeah, that's what we had to do, is we ended up having to just make sure it only went halfway so it didn't get too entangled. But it's tough. Although I'm seeing that Jeannie is saying that Brick Stuff has a part that lets you rotate. And that's how they do the Ferris wheel. Awesome. Good to know.
That would be super handy.
Hey, Richard Flynn, real quick, you guys have 8 minutes left. It's already this 1 hour. So don't forget, if you want to show your video, that's a good time.
So I think we got through the majority of the presentation there. I just want to remind people, look at your translucent pieces. Because they're a great way to color your stuff. And then also, like we did in this, up where it is there, where is it? The werewolf clock has lighting inside it, and we didn't want to use colored lights there. We used flicker torches on the face of the werewolf, but I wanted purple light behind, and so I put purple bricks there and put white light on them. You can put colored bricks behind your windows and shine bright white light on them and get brilliant Lego color as well.
So just to kind of show you some of the, we showed you some pictures of how we utilized lighting, but we have a couple of videos here to share with you of how we used lighting at a convention. Now we were fortunate enough, this first video is from Bricks Cascade, and we did a collaborative piece with Boone and Mark from Lego Masters and our friend Perry, who did this thing called Ewok Adventureland.
Yeah, Perry built a whole amusement park bottom for it, right?
Right, and we were tasked with coming up with a sign. So we were told that it should look something like the Las Vegas sign was kind of the inspiration. So we went sort of like a Vegas meets Ewoks meets Gilligan's Island meets Disneyland. So I'm going to just share with you the this video real quick.
Yeah, and you'll see our sign with a bunch of these flicker torches on it, and then below you'll also see a very smartly lit amusement park that I think Perry did the lighting on that.
Yeah. So here I'll give you.
And this is Ewok music playing. And we were fortunate enough at Bricks Cascade that they turned down the lights to about a third as bright, so everyone's little LED lights shine really brightly. I think you can see the flicker torches really added some, Boone had wanted us to draw people's attention, and I think that little bit of flicker.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Sorry, there you
You've
go.
got the web playing in the background here. And then we have another video of our Treasure of the Snake Queen piece, right? And again, we used, before I took the lights out of the upper turret, there were 63 LEDs in here. And you can see ways that we incorporated all the things that we've been talking about: making your own shade, hiding your lights, hiding the wires, mounting these little sort of 8-way things all over where we could get to them, but where no one could see them.
So, and for this one coming up, just wanted to mention that so this is Treasure of the Snake Queen that we're about to show you, and this was our biggest mock ever, and it was controlled by two
Lego EV3.
Thank you, Lego EV3 brains. It had 8 motors and I think 6 or 7
I think it has 7 sensors.
And yeah, so
and an Arduino microcontroller that Lego hasn't been awesome so far about controlling lights, although they're working on it. So we used an Arduino to control the lights and sound.
Right, and you'll get to see most of the lights. Places to look for the lights are like the eyes of the dragon. You can see the cave light up a little bit, but you'll see some eyes in the forest, eyes in the crypt. So you'll get a chance to see.
And we actually had about a dozen lights in the forest that, when you saw it in person, really lit the minifigures' faces. And this is about, what, a 2-minute video?
The screen's not sharing, guys.
Oh, are we on the wrong screen?
Sorry.
Dimmed up the black lights from the slime cave. So that's Treasure of the Snake Queen. If you had seen the version 1 while we were having problems with the weight, the balance of the turntable, during that version, the sacrifice was so that we could have very bright lit green windows there, and then to balance the turntable, we took the lights out.
Yeah, it was sad to lose, but I think you can see. So one of the things we were talking about, and I know we've just got a minute left.
Bryce,
so
thank you very much.
I wanted to make sure and touch on this, was that now I forgot. All right, never mind.
Oh,
sorry
sorry.
about that. I'm sorry. Yes, it brings us back to what we were talking about at the very beginning about focus. So we specifically used light in Treasure of the Snake Queen to carry the audience's attention up the side of the mountain to follow the story. So you were able to see it in little pieces, but to an audience member, they just saw different parts of it light up, so they kind of knew where. So that's sort of the culmination of everything we just talked about today. But thanks everybody so much for coming and seeing us today. We hope you found something interesting to learn. We do how-tos on our YouTube channel, which I know there was a link in the chat. You can check us out on YouTube, and also you can check out more lighting tutorials there. And gosh, thanks to Rob Hendricks and everybody at Brick Fiesta for having us on today. So thanks everybody.
I just want to leave you with, you know what? Get a battery, get a light brick, just get some lights and move them around your model, and you'll be amazed at how much you can do with just like even one light added to it.
All right. Thanks everyone. Bye everyone. Bye. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thank y'all very much. Thanks, Rob Hendricks, for moderating some of the technical Q&A.
Cool.
And I just want to remind everyone, we're going to be starting another session with Robert Rodriguez, talking about some historical MOCs. Richard and Flynn, thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Yep. No, you're welcome. What fun to be here.
Thanks, guys. I hope to see you soon.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.